So I started talking before about the quality of movement in an ideal movement. That oddly enough it has more to do with the absence of sensation than the strength of a particular sensation. It's tricky because we get interested in particular sensations. It helps us identify ourselves in some way too. Moshe had a very interesting definition of posture. Actually, not posture, a well-organized movement. Posture is a static thing. He coined a word called acture. And that means that you have the ability to move from any position you're in, to move in at least the 6 cardinal directions, without any prior reorganization. That means from here I could go forward, I could go backward, I could go left, I could go right, I could go up, I could go down, without first having to go, oh wait, to go forward I have to move my feet. That's kind of an ideal. The thing about ideals is they don't exist, meaning no one attains it. It's the ideal, it's something to go towards all the time. This idea of being ready for action in different directions, of course, means that we have an organization that's both stable and mobile. The place people probably train for it the most would be in martial arts, where at any moment they could organize themselves to move in another direction. It happens also with great athletes. So there's a different way of using themselves where there's a readiness, a different kind of readiness in them. Now, we can look at this same phenomena and say, well, that might describe me as being more neutral. I'm more in the middle, and so I could go to different places. Most of us don't have that. Most of us have a bias towards one place or another. So if my bias is to sit like this, to go back is easy, but maybe to go forward isn't. But I recognize myself through this bias. There's a lot of sensation associated with it. At the worst end, it would be pain, but at the more common end, you'd see it as a sense of effort, and I get used to these sensations. And actually, if I took away the sensations, it can be kind of confusing. We do a similar thing around feeling and emotions. We want to know what we're feeling, or we don't know what we're feeling, or we're feeling too much of a feeling. But actually, when there's an absence of feeling, for many people it's uncomfortable. Again, because we identify ourselves from our feelings in a lot of ways. And we can include not just emotions, but attitudes. If I have an internal attitude of rushing everywhere, if someone takes that away from me, I can feel a little lost, like I don't know who I am. And it's not that we shouldn't have the range of feelings we have. I think the thing is, can we be more mobile with our feelings? When I think of a good image for feelings, I think of a baby. It's crying, and you wiggle the keys in front of its face, all of a sudden it's happy. Doesn't work with us. I've tried it. By myself and with others. So in a sense then, we're attached to our feeling. We're attached to our sensation as well. And when we come into a more neutral state, often it's confusing. At the same time, it can be very satisfying. So we have to practice it. So yesterday we did a lesson with oscillations. I described to you how the post could be broken if you add the same force at different points. That's actually called a sympathetic vibration. We have them in other ways in us. And actually this is my theory, but everyone I talk to so far agrees. And it has to do with the habitual state that our diaphragm can get in our breathing. Generally it's not something we're aware of. Our breathing is affected by the world around us and the events that we're in. But almost everyone has the experience of feeling better after they laugh or after they cry. So in a sympathetic vibration, you're amplifying the movement. When we laugh or cry, it's kind of inverse of that. So when you start with a big laugh, Your diaphragm is held habitually in some place, and then you go, ha 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 ha. So when that happens like that, the diaphragm comes to a more neutral resting place. So our breathing is easier. We feel a sense of relief after that. And so let's see if we can take these ideas and explore oscillation a little bit more, but actually approach it more gently. So that in this lesson that we do now, see if you can stay away from the edge of your oscillation. So it doesn't have the feeling of pumping something to one end, but there's a feeling of looseness, that you're hanging out in the middle of something.